Brett Favre, great player, Hall of Fame career. But do we really need to show the top 10 Brett Favre games? Come on.
John Madden's going to, you can get really excited for the debut of a television show. He's going to get his Snuggie and a cup of hot cocoa. And that's it, man. He's not answering the door. If the phone rings, he's not picking it up. He's going to be zoned into this moment. This one's for you, John Madden.
Work his tail off. 5 seconds left. 4, you dream it. 3, 4, number 3. 72, pushing 2 weeks. 1.
Brett Favre. Love him?
I don't know how you don't love a guy like this. He's what epitomizes the sport, I think.
That's why Brett Favre is Brett Favre. Yep.
Or hate him?
Oh my God, if I never hear his name again, I'll be better off. You wonder why I see a shrink. You wonder why I don't just drink one beer. It's because of Brett Favre. It's your fault, dude.
Chances are you've probably done both.
I always loved him as a quarterback. I loved his enthusiasm for the game.
Gotta love it. Can you believe they pass for it?
His kid-like reactions.
Look at Brett Favre coming off the field. He is so happy.
But then he ruined it at the end with all his nonsense.
It was never about me. It was about everybody else.
You ruined it. You were great, and you ruined it.
We're counting down the greatest games Brett Favre ever played in, whether he was the GOAT or the hero.
The greatest Brett Favre games feature incredible comebacks.
And the Packers score with 14 seconds to go.
But also, he threw some of the most spectacular bonehead interceptions in the history of great quarterbacks.
This is the cardinal sin for any quarterback throwing back across the grain.
His ability to rise to the occasion in big moments, but also really disappoint you at times, kind of made him more accessible than most star quarterbacks. You didn't ever get that feeling about a Dan Marino or a Joe Montana. What they did was clearly so above what the common fan could relate to. Favre, you could see yourself in him every once in a while. You could see yourself being the screw-up, like he could be the screw-up.
Our countdown spans Favre's entire career, from his humble beginnings.
This is the best thing that's happened in Green Bay in a long time.
To the peak of his stardom.
Touchdown!
All the way through to his storybook ending.
I am officially retiring.
All the way through to his storybook ending.
I am officially retiring.
All the way through to his storybook ending.
I am officially retiring.
But it all began unexpectedly one day in Green Bay.
The number 10 Brett Favre game of all time. His debut performance.
After a brief stint with the Falcons in 1991 and a few forgettable appearances in garbage time, Brett Favre would finally get a shot in his third game as a Packer.
It was not going good for the old Packers at that time. We were 0-2, and our starting quarterback is laying in a pile on the field.
And Mikowski is down and hurting, Max.
Before Brett Favre, it was quarterback Don Mikowski who was expected to lead the Pack back to the promised land.
Don Mikowski, he was the magic man. He was the guy in Green Bay. I don't think I've ever seen a more popular player disappear from the stage quicker.
It's like the Wally Pipp story. It's very similar. If you get hurt and Lou Gehrig or Brett Favre replaces you, you better look for a new team.
And then we got Brett Favre, who was like raw, really raw, and under-practiced. And I'm going, oh my God, here we go.
And here's second-year quarterback Brett Favre out of Southern Mississippi.
They just basically pushed him onto the field and held their breath and hoped it would work out. And that's really what the Brett Favre career has been about.
Overcoming adversity is another trademark of Favre's career.
I think I lost 2 or 3 fumbles and could have lost 6 or 7.
You live and die with somebody like Brett Favre.
It's kind of like, hell, it's got to get better than this, because I won't be around long.
In those days, Favre was going to make as many mistakes in a game as he was going to have successes.
Favre living and learning.
He fumbled a lot early in his day, but he saves his best for last.
Despite all of Favre's fumbles, he still had a shot at an improbable comeback.
We get the ball back with a minute to go in the game. We had to go 80 yards, and he threw 3 of the most beautiful passes I'll ever see in my life.
We call 2-jet all-go. That's 4 verticals. He ran that at Southern Miss, and he threw the ball to Sterling Sharp. Sterling caught it, landed on his rib, broke his rib. He's our best receiver. He's got to come out of the game. So we put in Kittrick Taylor. I don't think Kittrick Taylor ever played except for this one play. Two-jet all go again. And Brett Favre threw a laser that hit Kettrick Taylor for a touchdown.
Kettrick Taylor has scored it. Oh, my goodness.
Unbelievable debut for Brett Favre. That should be a lot higher than number 10. That was quite a comeback.
He just kept getting better and better as this game went on.
In 2008, on a rainy day at the Meadowlands, 38-year-old Brett Favre did something as a New York Jet that he'd never done as a Green Bay Packer.
Fires a bullet, end zone, touchdown.
I was there at the Meadowlands the day he threw the 6 touchdown passes against the Cardinals. Yeah, I wanted him. I was happy when they made the move for him.
Favre is a rock and roll legend. He's like a Bruce Springsteen. He's like a Mick Jagger.
Favre flips it back left corner of the end zone, touchdown.
The year before, Favre did something that he had done more than once. He threw an interception that cost the Packers a trip to the Super Bowl.
The pass intercepted by the Giants at the 40-yard line. And the New York Giants are going to Super Bowl 42.
2 years later, Favre was back in the NFC Championship game.
The number 9 Brett Favre game of all time. The 2009 NFC Championship.
Welcome to a wild atmosphere at the Superdome, and welcome to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, I'm astounded that isn't higher because, I mean, to me, when you're looking at noteworthy games of a guy's career,
Let's come out with some piss and bitter.
that game was a 40-year-old quarterback
Have a little fun.
taking his team to the conference championship game, having as great a year as he'd had in his entire career.
Score on 3. 1, 2, 3, go. Fires. Caught. Touchdown. Yes, sir.
That was a good team.
Nice job.
And if they win the Saint game in the playoffs, they're going to be a great team.
He got beat up in that game like crazy. You obviously, the Saints' game plan was to attack Brett Favre at all costs.
They've gotten some knockdowns on Brett Favre, and they knew they were going to have to do that.
They hit him a lot, and they hit him hard.
Favre out of the shotgun.
We almost carried him away in an ambulance that day.
And he's writhing in pain back at the 47-yard line.
I thought Favre was incredibly courageous during the game, playing with a lot of stuff that I'm sure would have knocked other people out of the game.
Brett Favre is in a lot of pain. Injury on the left ankle. His return is questionable.
You turn the ball over in big games, you lose.
Now it's Peterson who loses it.
There was a lot of drama in that game.
For once, the turnovers were not all Favre's fault.
I think they had 4 or 5 turnovers in the football game.
Well, most of the turnovers.
But we see Favre's interception more than we see all those other turnovers.
Throws back across the middle, and he's intercepted.
An inexcusable gaffe.
You're going to see Brett Favre as he rolls out if he just runs with it.
Because he could have run for the first down. They could have attempted a mid-40-ish field goal, gone to the Super Bowl.
And in some ways, it was fitting that it was going to end that way in his last chance for a Super Bowl, throwing an interception. It was the way he ran his whole career.
Close, but really not close enough. Making decisions that any high school quarterback was taught never to make.
This is the cardinal sin for any quarterback, throwing back across the brain as you're rolling to your right.
If he got off the mat and came back in off of that injury,
That was something else right there.
and beat New Orleans in the Superdome to take the Vikings to the Super Bowl,
I'm proudly on the field with you. I'm proudly on the field with you.
that would have been a breakaway slam dunk moment. That would have been a top moment of his career, I think.
The number 8 Brett Favre game of all time. Super Bowl 32.
Green right, 24 double go, first down, ready?
The game opened up with Favre hitting Antonio Freeman for a 22-yard touchdown, and you just felt like it would be a romp.
Here's Brett going to the end zone. Back there is Antonio Freeman. Touchdown, Packers.
It was perfect timing. The ball got there right at the nick of time. Half a second later, you might be looking at an interception.
The beginning of Super Bowl 32 was a microcosm of Brett Favre's career in its prime.
Brett Favre entered that game at the height of his powers. He had won an unprecedented 3 straight MVP awards.
He was in the middle of an MVP run where he won 3 straight. Anytime he had the ball in his hands, you felt like the Packers had a chance to win.
Fresh off his first Super Bowl win, Favre and the Packers were heavily favored against John Elway's Broncos.
They weren't the Chicago Cubs, but lovable losers when you looked at John Elway and his career and having already lost 3 Super Bowls.
This team is not better than us. They're not even good.
As great as Favre was, Elway was greater. But he had not had a Super Bowl victory. And it was a game that the Broncos, we need to win this game for John Elway.
This one's for John.
Elway, along with Super Bowl 32 MVP Terrell Davis, left the Packers in a 7-point hole with under 2 minutes to go.
I was absolutely expecting him to take them down because at that time of his career, it just seemed automatic.
You did think Favre would have his second ring and really join that pantheon of Super Bowl winning quarterbacks.
Here is Brett, straight back in the pocket. Got some time, comes up over the middle, threw it badly. Well, he's human.
When it didn't happen, you sort of said, yeah, this is a surprise, but there was another part of me that said, Brett Favre's going to be back in this game.
Favre never did make it back to a Super Bowl, so our number 8 game had a big impact on his legacy.
There'll be some people that think Brett's just a little notch below some of the other guys because he didn't win that additional Super Bowl.
He's got one Super Bowl. That's awesome. So does Brad Johnson. So does Trent Dilfer.
That's what it's all about. You know, that's pretty much how you're judged. The quarterback that won the Super Bowl, he should be given that credit, and I think Elway should certainly be given that credit.
We're kind of a harsh sports fan society. What have you done for me? Tom Brady has that one loss on his Super Bowl legacy. Well, guess what? Montana fans say, huh, Joe never lost a game. So yeah, it's a penal way to judge them, but yes, it did damage his legacy.
In Brett Favre's second full season, the Packers needed to beat Atlanta to be eligible for the playoffs.
Here is a quick pass to the outside, Sterling Sharp underneath, and Brett Favre is hitting for the touchdown.
2 first-quarter touchdowns gave Green Bay the lead. But by the fourth quarter, the Pack trailed with time running out.
Favre looking, comes up over the middle to Chamorro. He stumbles at the 42-yard line of the Atlanta Falcons.
Favre drove the Packers into the Falcons' red zone, then used his final timeout.
And I remember upstairs on the phones saying he's open. And I'm going, no. And he starts running, and then he starts doing his thing, you know.
Now Favre running to the right. Favre is on the run. Favre is down the sidelines. Favre, touchdown! And the Packers score with 14 seconds to go.
Typical, no, yes call. The best one I've ever had.
What a way to get this team into the playoffs.
The number 7 Brett Favre game of all time. The Iron Man streak ends.
The end of his streak probably came about in just the way that it was supposed to come about. The roof is collapsing in Minnesota, and there's chaos surrounding the game because we're supposed to play the Vikings in Minnesota, and we're at Ford Field in Detroit. So I go to the officials meeting, and we exchange the deactivation sheets. I look down because until you see his name on that sheet, you're still thinking somehow, some way he's going to play. So anyway, I'm looking at the sheet, and Favre's name's on it, and as a sign of the times, the first thing I do is take a picture of it and tweet it.
I can't think of a single streak more impressive than Brett Favre's Iron Man streak. Just to be able to survive year after year, the hits that you take in the game.
Should have ended before that. It should have ended before that. It should have ended when he couldn't throw the football properly as a member of the Jets, but it was all about him.
Throws one up for grabs at the goal line. A leaping catch is made.
It's more impressive, too, when you watch him play. And his style. I mean, he's a hard-nosed guy. You never see him just fall down.
What a lunge by Brett Favre. I've never seen anything like it, Jim.
To look at all the other quarterbacks that have missed games during the time that he just kept going and playing at this incredible level, suffice it to say, it's one of the most amazing things in the history of sports, bar none.
And I don't know how many losing seasons this guy had, but I think it's only 2. That's another amazing accomplishment.
But it became like a white noise machine. It's like, yeah, okay, Favre starting again. To the point where it's just blowing past your ear. Favre starting. Yeah, we get it. Yeah, we know. He's in there on Sunday.
Hit and hit hard from behind. Brett Favre is down, writhing in pain at the 36-yard line.
He had never stood on the sidelines in street clothes in his NFL career. That's what took some getting used to.
Yeah, it was a tough way for him to go, but how many players go out on top, really? A lot of them retire old, beaten, maybe on the bench, and he did too.
We had him the next week against Chicago in Minneapolis, and he was out. Then I get a call on Monday morning that Favre has been upgraded from out to doubtful to maybe he's questionable now. I says, this guy's going to play.
He threw his final career touchdown pass. Then he re-injured his shoulder. Favre's streak was over, but he still could do stand-up comedy.
My buddy over here, see if I can get a hamburger from him.
As Brett Favre sits at home
They got great hamburgers.
and ponders his career, the only record that really he's going to be thinking about
I had one a couple weeks ago. Awesome.
is the consecutive games record.
We take 2 weeks off and start getting ready again?
Yeah, probably so.
The number 6 Brett Favre game of all time. His first playoff performance.
In only his second season in the NFL, Favre led the Packers to the playoffs, a place they hadn't been in over a decade.
Favre looks over the middle, touchdown.
That was still at the time where I think a lot of people were trying to figure out exactly what Brett Favre was.
I hope we come away with one, I tell you. Be nice.
At that point, we didn't really know what he was. At that point, it was kind of his coming out party, first playoff game. He was a young man who clearly had a lot of talent, had also thrown a lot of interceptions.
Favre, especially Packer fans, know the story about this young man. Extremely aggressive, but too many turnovers.
In one of his first games on a national stage, Favre gave the world a glimpse of his gunslinging style. He threw for 3 touchdowns, but also made a costly mistake late in the game that put the Packers in a 10-point hole.
Brett steps up, field intercepted, picked off, and it's going to be a touchdown, Jenkins.
Brett Favre has a history of making great plays and of making really boneheaded plays. Favre gets away with them because a lot of us go, oh, that's just Brett being Brett. He's just trying to make something out of nothing. Whereas if somebody else does it, you say, how could you possibly make that play?
And that's part of the legacy of Brett Favre. You don't remember the mistakes, you remember the end of the game when he pulled it out.
Favre looking, now Favre running. Come on, running. He's going to throw it to the end zone. He's open, shot, open. Touchdown!
That's how the legend of Brett Favre was born. He just was, holy cow, did you see that play? And him taking off like a 10-year-old kid at his birthday party.
You can say 4 words in Detroit and immediately ruin anybody's day. Sterling Sharp, wide open.
I don't remember anything about that game other than watching him wide open going, no, not again, no.
Favre kept that play alive. He was running around like crazy, had no idea where he was going to go with the ball.
That play was designed for a 10 to 12-yard gain and hopefully a clock stoppage. Mike says, Brett, no matter what you do, if you don't like it, throw it away, but do not scramble. Now, keep in mind, if we win this game, we get $8,000 bonuses. We got to have this game. Do not scramble. Do you understand? Do you understand? Yes, yes. The first thing he does, he drops back to pass. Off he goes. The guy started running around the Silverdome, and he threw the ball against the grain for a 60-yard touchdown pass.
Touchdown! Green Bay leads!
You could see it in slow motion on the sidelines. Like, there's another $8,000 playoff check right there.
What a pass by Brett Favre.
Thank God for Brett Favre. We got a new screened-in porch because of that play.
This could be a defining day for Brett Favre.
That really started the Packers' run to greatness in the mid-90s.
The Pack is back. It really lit a spark for the Green Bay Packers. For the Lions, it was just another one of those moments where you throw your head up and you go, I can't believe what just happened.
The Lions were pretty solid, but the quarterbacks just never could step up that game and do the Brett Favre thing. Give us Brett Favre, history is rewritten.
Wow. They said Brett couldn't do it. They said Brett couldn't do it. They can take the title and keep their ass in Detroit.
And now, the number 5 Brett Favre game of all time. The retirement saga.
Our number 5 Brett Favre game is the game he played with all of us. His on again, off again retirement game.
Well, I think we all know why I'm here.
It's a shame that Favre's great legacy in Green Bay will forever be tarnished with how he left.
I am officially retiring from the NFL.
I don't understand his problem with Green Bay, since he was the one that wanted to leave, and then didn't want to leave, and then wanted to leave, and then didn't want to leave, and then wanted to leave.
And finally, in 2008, the Packers called him on it.
I promised I wouldn't get emotional.
Woe is me. It's not easy being Brett Favre.
I hope that every penny that they've spent on me, they know it was money well spent.
The way he searches for every word.
It was never about the money or fame or...
I can't take it.
5 months after his first retirement, Favre changed his mind again and traded Packer gold for New York Jet green.
It was a little selfish.
I mean, especially when you look at your legacy.
The most important thing in this whole process is the guys in that locker room.
It was so compelling that people who weren't even football fans became Brett Favre fans.
I really don't know these guys. They don't know me. I think when they get to know me, they'll like the way I play and figure out that I'll do whatever it takes to win for them.
Gets to the 5, shakes and bakes at the 3. Touchdown, Jets!
Favre threw 22 touchdown passes. He also threw 22 interceptions. When an MRI revealed a torn triceps tendon, 39-year-old Brett Favre retired again.
I mean, to be 39 years old and still have people wanting me to play, that's not a bad place to be.
And it's hard to still when people are waving so much money at you and you're thinking, well, geez, you know.
You're 39 years old. Your arm may not feel like it did at 21.
$18 million, I just got to come back and play 16 more games. How can I not do that?
And Favre goes back to pass. Deep right side. Sidney Rice single coverage. He caught it.
I credit the Vikings, certainly. They needed that piece, the quarterback, to push them where they needed to go. And Favre did that.
But when he got beat up in the title game, then learned this ankle injury would require another surgery, he retired a third time.
After a while, you say enough is enough is enough.
Everybody got sick of it. It was ridiculous.
It's all about Brett Favre.
And it just wore on people.
We couldn't miss him until he said goodbye.
He's sitting at home in Mississippi. That's where he was. He said, I'm not playing. When you continue to call him and then you send your teammates down there to get him, like, we got to have you, he probably, man, these guys need me. Felt a responsibility.
It became monotonous. It became painful. It became irritating.
It was football season again, and you know the guy misses it.
All right, let's go. We get their ass. Let's go.
This guy got off on the attention.
Hell of a football player, man. I love what he plays.
He thought he was bigger than the President of the United States.
There's not a lot of guys like this running around on the streets today.
He finds Percy wide open.
Oh, my God, if I never hear his name again, I'll be better off.
Favre dumps it right, badly overthrew Toby Gerhart, Packers ball.
You wonder why I don't just drink one beer. It's because of Brett Favre. It's your fault, dude.
The number 4 Brett Favre game of all time. The Miracle in Minnesota.
It was a Week 3 encounter at home that confirmed the Minnesota Vikings' belief that the sun had not yet set on Favre's Hall of Fame career.
The great thing about that game from Favre's perspective is that he had played almost 2 full games with the Vikings, and people didn't yet know if the Vikings were crazy or if the Vikings were smart for dragging him out of retirement.
I think the 49ers went in that game pretty confident because they didn't expect to see the same Brett Favre that had destroyed them while he was with the Packers.
Everybody was talking about Favre no longer having the arm that he had. Everything was a check down.
Looks right, passes right, caught Sidney, 5 touchdowns!
And I think you can see that there's nothing wrong with Brett Favre's deep ball. That was a perfect throw.
He was fantastic in that game, and he showed that he still has magic in that right arm of his.
He missed wide open receivers. He threw off his back foot into tight man coverage.
Throws off the hands of Barry and intercepted.
I don't know how many times he hit 49ers right in the hands.
Short drop, and that one almost picked off as he overthrew Sidney Rice.
There's been 3 or 4 defenders that have had their hands on the football for San Francisco but haven't been able to hang on.
First and second down, we win this series. They have no answers on third down. Look, 58! Look, 58, center!
Needing a touchdown in the fourth quarter to retake the lead, Favre opted for a harmless check down.
Way to go, my brother!
4 minutes later, Favre floundered again.
I thought Favre might have been across the line of scrimmage.
He was very, very close. They may challenge this. We'll see if Mike pulls out his flag. Blue line is the line of scrimmage. Still in his hands. This one's coming back.
They can get the ball back with 1:20, no timeouts. You got me? They need a touchdown to win. You got it? All bets are off. Go win it.
Superstar players do things that most people don't dream of doing.
He gets away from the pressure, fires to the end zone. It's caught! It's
If you let Favre set his feet and get his feet underneath him, he can throw it right through the Metrodome wall. I don't know how Lewis caught the ball at the end line. That was the miraculous thing. I thought Lewis would get bounced out of bounds for sure with the momentum of that ball.
Brett Favre, Greg Lewis, how do you like that?
Poor Greg Lewis doesn't get any credit for the catch. You know, all everybody talked about was Brett Favre, Brett Favre. Greg Lewis made probably the catch of his lifetime, and all they talked about was Brett Favre.
I remember watching that and going, who the heck is number 17? He just made one fantastic catch, one of the great catches of all time, but no one will ever remember that. It was Brett Favre's throw.
Favre had done exactly what the Vikings got him to do, and that is to win a game in miraculous fashion.
It just gives the decision credibility and momentum, and that's what that moment was, I think, for the Vikings.
Would you have that scripted out from the beginning?
That, to me, just said to everybody in Minnesota, you made the right call in bringing Favre back.
They figured it out. I'd like to make it a little easier.
Our countdown features the best games of Brett Favre's career, but when John Madden was in the broadcast booth, Favre was always at his best.
That's why Brett Favre is Brett Favre.
Yep. John Madden helped make the legend of Brett Favre.
Brett Favre, if you're going to make him beat you, he usually will.
All he ever talked, Brett Favre, Brett Favre, Brett Favre.
Brett Favre just throws a perfect ball. He's doing it because he's Brett Favre.
It did get a little overboard where you'd actually hear him say he's one of the top 3 quarterbacks of all time, which is nonsense.
Brett Favre throws as well as anyone. He throws better than anyone. What the heck am I talking about?
Put in John Madden stats and then Brett Favre stats in Match.com. It always comes up together.
He's the darndest guy I've ever seen. He can pick up a baseball with his foot. That is amazing.
I did occasionally just wonder if they'd ever spooned.
I wonder if Brett Favre sent any texts to John Madden.
Brett Favre is one of those guys that when he's hot, he can really be hot.
Those two need to get a room already and get it over with because I can't take anymore. I mean, I really can't.
You know, I think in a dictionary, when you have the word competitor, you ought to just put his picture there.
It was only fitting that Madden was behind the mic for the watershed moment in Brett Favre's career.
The number 3 Brett Favre game of all time. Super Bowl 31.
I was talking to Brett Favre before the game, and he was saying, you know, everyone says that I'm nervous, and heck yes, I'm nervous.
Starting your first Super Bowl can leave any player on edge, especially when the opposing team's defensive coordinator is Bill Belichick.
As a coach, he was probably the scariest kind of quarterback to go against because he was so unpredictable.
I remember on the first play when Andre Rison scored a touchdown. Brett had checked off to an audible.
Brett Favre appears to be changing plays at the line of scrimmage.
And I remember the full blitz coming. I can still see the hand signal, 28 Razor. Black 58 Razor. There goes Andre Rison for a touchdown.
It is going to be a touchdown to Andre Rison. I think old Brett called the exact right audible for the situation there.
Hey, we got some big plays coming. I mean, everybody's open.
When you beat Bill Belichick deep, you got to duck walk. I've always said that. If you are going to solve the riddle of the Belichick defense, duck walk into the end zone. And Rison did.
This gives us the iconic Brett Favre image with him ripping his helmet off and holding it above his head.
People always talk about Brett Favre as kind of the happy-go-lucky gunslinger. This is the game that I think typifies that Brett Favre that so many remember.
Look at Brett Favre coming off the field. He is so happy.
Running with his helmet in his hand and his big Brett Favre, I love football smile. And I think that's one of the reasons that he was such a popular player, especially during the meat of his career, when he was that kind of Southern kid who just loved the game of football, and it was apparent on the TV screen.
He didn't have the downside yet. He was just still a young, impetuous type kid, and you loved him for it. He hadn't become a diva yet.
Montana, Manning, Elway, and Brady have all been the most valuable player of a Super Bowl. Even Green Bay greats like Bart Starr and Aaron Rodgers have won the award. But Brett Favre never did. In our number 3 game, the MVP was kick returner Desmond Howard.
He made enough plays to get the Packers to win. Desmond Howard was the key to that game, though.
Touchdown for Desmond Howard! Usually, the Super Bowl MVP voting leans toward a quarterback to begin with, so you usually, if a guy wins, he's going to win a quarterback. But it doesn't happen that way every single time.
I think Favre's accomplishments, you know, they speak for themselves. So the fact that he didn't get labeled as MVP, I don't think hurts him in any way.
Desmond Howard, MVP, and he deserves it. You know who I voted for?
Yep.
Even though Favre wasn't the most valuable player, our number 3 game was the most valuable victory of number 4's career.
Imagine if Favre didn't win this game. People would look at all the interceptions and all the questionable decisions, and they wouldn't say, oh, he's a kid having fun, he's a backyard sandlot player. They'd say the guy's reckless. He can't be counted on, he's out of control.
Now, are you all right?
Yeah.
No more rocket balls, please.
Well, I was chained up.
No, I know.
When you talk about great quarterbacks, the one thing they almost have to always have is a Super Bowl ring. Dan Marino, no one questions that he's not a great quarterback, but there's something missing. He didn't win a Super Bowl. No one questions Brett Favre will be in the Hall of Fame, and he was one of the all-time greats, but now no one can ever say he didn't win the big one. He only won it once, but he won the big one once, and that's really enough to cement a legacy.
It was not his favorite venue, and that's what made it so sweet.
We all want 421. 421 coming to somebody. Whoever get it, whoever get it. Double stick nod, X-Indy, silent 3.
One of Brett Favre's 3 wideouts would help him make history.
Brett looking, drills the middle. He's got There it is. And there it is, a monumental milestone in a legendary career.
Congratulations, man. Thank you. I love you, bud.
Favre and family savored the moment.
421 touchdown passes, more than any other man in NFL history.
Put her in the old vice. A win here is a beautiful thing. I've been here a lot of times.
Ironically, Favre's next game in Minnesota would be as a Viking.
I love playing on this team so much. I do. Let's keep this going. Let's go.
The number 2 Brett Favre game of all time. Favre beats the Packers.
With all those ghosts and all those thoughts running through your mind.
Hey, here we go, baby.
You know, there's going to be a movie about this guy. How do you play that long, that well for the Green Bay Packers and go play quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings against the Packers in the same lifetime?
I'm just thrilled to be a damn part of it, big fella. Let's go get him. On 3 QBs. 1, 2, 3 QBs.
It was almost like Muhammad Ali came out of that tunnel.
Ain't no doubt we can win this ball game and put up some points. Let's have a little fun doing it.
He can say it didn't mean any more to him than another game. I'm not buying it. And the way that he left Green Bay, there's no question in the world that he didn't want to show them you gave up on me too soon.
Makes it 1st and goal, Vikings. Hey, tempo.
Shoulder right, slide F right, 23, X in.
Release it.
Favre goes play action, swings it back to the left. Touchdown! DeSante
That was can't miss television for me. I can't say that I was rooting for the Vikings per se. I was rooting for Brett.
Fires into the end zone. Touchdown! Sidney Rice! It's touchdown number 2 for Brett Favre against his former team.
There's 2 camps. There are the people who love Brett Favre and the people who love to hate Brett Favre. And that was their time.
They can't get the people in and off the field. Let's go. Mayday their ass. Let's go.
A little annoyed that he tried to play the game down. A little annoyed that he tried to pretend it didn't matter. It clearly mattered. And in the post-game celebration afterwards,
It's a nice 40th birthday for the old man. I appreciate it.
you could tell how badly, he even pumped his fist.
Yes!
He wanted to beat the Packers.
The rematch of this home and away series offered the ultimate in bittersweet scenarios.
Right down the middle.
We've all seen it happening where the bad guy comes home, the erstwhile son returns, and there's going to be a smattering of boos. But for that stadium to then flip like that 180 degrees from love to hate, I won't say everybody, but it sure seemed like 99% of the people hated him. It's a pretty dramatic turn of events.
When you talk about pressure, how about the Dom Capers 3rd down pressure pack?
Looking over the middle, dumps over the middle, caught.
How about Charles Woodson coming off the open side on a blitz?
Silences the crowd.
How about throwing into that secondary?
Beautiful strike down the field.
The tougher you make it on this guy, the better he plays.
Fires, caught, Janko, inside the 5, touchdown!
If you're a Green Bay Packer fan, that has to be sickening. Not only did your former flame leave you, But then your former Flame comes back with a more attractive person and then just rubs it in your face. I mean, like, that's tears, man.
It's a 51-yard touchdown by Percy Harvin.
And the fact that those fans had given him a hard time meant something to him. I think he still loved them, but I think he wanted to show him something.
By the end of our number 2 Favre game, the area behind the Vikings bench was a place of worship.
Packers fans are cheering Brett Favre. It reminded me of, what was it, Rocky IV, when the Russians are cheering Rocky after battling Ivan Drago, you know? But obviously he was pretty well beloved in Green Bay.
They thought maybe at the time this would be the last time they saw Brett Favre in Lambeau Field, but they also realized this is a guy who did just what he'd always done, performed at his best level at all times.
Here we go. Kick ass on 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah!
And now, the number 1 Brett Favre game of all time. A tribute to his father.
How he was able to play less than 48 hours after the death of his dad, I have no idea.
How Brett Favre is going to be able to handle this, I have no idea.
His dad died, and Brett played this game. And wow, you can make a movie over that.
That was one of the most incredible moments, I think, in all of pro football.
You can't put any other game ahead of that.
That was a performance for all ages.
That was really where he solidified his legend.
It's the most amazing game he ever played because an hour before the game, he's in tears.
His face was just totally pink. Really had trouble staying composed, but he got 3 words out. He said, "I'm going to play."
There were people who said he shouldn't play in that game, but that's Brett Favre. He was brought up that way.
He knows when to be business, and he knows when to play.
Get your ass out there and play. Are you crazy? I mean, I could see him saying that.
Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? If he's Brett Favre, of course he's going to play.
That's why he had the streak that he did, because he could focus.
There are people like that who just are the best in the most difficult situations.
So under tremendous emotional duress, Brett Favre goes to work.
With 400 yards passing and 4 touchdowns, Favre had a near-perfect passer rating in our number 1 game.
Brett Favre is on fire tonight.
Brett and his dad were very close. He honored his father that night in grand fashion.
On a night like tonight, this has to be the greatest place in the world for Brett Favre to be.
Wow. What a performance. I know Big Irv was sitting up in heaven smiling.
Every time he threw a touchdown pass, you know, look up in the sky as if to say, "That's for you, Dad."
It was almost like he was playing with an angel on his shoulder.
Not to sound corny, but it was almost like somebody was helping him throw touchdown passes.
Some of the completions in this game were otherworldly. They didn't make sense.
You bring this script to a studio and they throw it out. I mean, this is like fantasy.
That's one of those things when you start believing in other forces in the universe, you know?
There's no roadmap for this, and how he does it, I have no idea.
Silver and black, Raider Nation. Welcome to Oak Town, baby.
There might not be a more difficult place for opposing teams to play than the black hole of the Oakland Coliseum.
Dead fish tell no tale.
They lead the league in boos of opposing teams. But that day, they were fantastic to Brett Favre. And they gave him a great ovation, and I think that really boosted Favre.
Winning over the Oakland Raider fans, I think, speaks volumes to that performance on that night in those circumstances.
I got a standing ovation from the fans. That doesn't happen.
It wasn't only Oakland fans who were inspired by Favre's performance in our number 1 game.
Sometimes fans cannot identify with these players, with all the money they make, with how great they are. But every fan can identify with a player who's lost a parent.
So we're all human beings, right? And we've all suffered loss of some kind. To think that you would then turn in one of the greatest professional days of your life out of your grief just hits everybody. That was a transcendent evening that will never be forgotten, and he should always be immortalized for that game.
I knew my dad would want me to play, and I didn't expect this type of performance, but I know he was watching tonight.
Favre's tribute to his father tops our list of his greatest games. But that's assuming he is retired. Is his best game yet to come?
I think he'll continue to this day to have a tough time saying that I'm done being a football player.
Gotta love this. Practice. This you like.
I hated Brett Favre for years, but I grew to respect him. I grew fond of watching him. And I'll be honest with you, I mean, even at this moment, I kind of sit back and go, maybe one more kick at the can, Brett?
I wish I could go back and play Little League. Just think if you could go back this size and play 5th and 6th grade.
I think he's had his share of football, but sure would be neat if he gave it one more round.